Hi, a very good evening to all of you, and also a warm welcome to all our viewers who have joined us on the show. Welcome to our YouTube channel, Skepta. I'm your host, Dr. Mani Iyer. Before we start, I request everyone to please kindly subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also share it with all your friends and relatives. This will go a long way in supporting us. Thank you very much. All right, let's begin. Imagine this. Your phone says you have 1,237 followers, 4 active group chats, 300 Instagram direct messages, people reacting to your stories within minutes, and yet it's Friday night. You put your phone down, the room becomes quiet, and suddenly there's a strange feeling. If I disappeared for a week, who would actually notice? This isn't just your feeling. Millions of young people are experiencing something very similar. We are most connected generation in the history and at the same time one of the loneliest. How is it that even possible? Why do so many of us feel emotionally isolated despite constantly talking to people online? Why do group chats feel busy but not fulfilling? Why can you spend an entire evening with friends and still come home feeling empty? Today we are unpacking one of the biggest paradoxes of modern life. That is, this is the mind unfiltered for you conversations about mental health nobody taught us to have. And to help us understand why this connection doesn't always mean closeness, I'm joined by Miss Neha Nair, co-founder of Room of Light Psychotherapy and a good psychologist. Neha, thank you very much for being here with us today. So let's unpack this biggest paradox of our life. Why do you feel, so lonely, even among so many things? Over to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Mani. I think this topic is something that resonates with almost everyone today. When people hear the word loneliness, they often imagine someone who is sitting completely alone with no friends. But psychological loneliness isn't about how many people are surrounding you. It's about whether you feel emotionally understood, emotionally safe, and emotionally connected. You can feel lonely in a crowd. You can feel lonely in a relationship. You can even feel lonely inside your own family. That's why researchers define loneliness as the gap between relationships we have and the relationships that we need. It is not the absence of people, but it is the absence of meaningful connection.
Oh, that's a very important distinction because if loneliness is about emotional connection, then why does it seem like young people today are reporting more loneliness than previous generations? Even though technology has made communications so easy.
That's a good question. So, technology has solved the problem of access. However, it did not solve the problem of intimacy. Today, we can message anyone we want instantly, but genuine connection requires much more than communication. It requires vulnerability, shared experiences. It involves feeling emotionally seen, trust, consistency. Our brains are evolved for face-to-face interactions, for eye contact, for touch, for a tone of voice, even for shared silence. Even things like laughing together activate bonding systems in the brain. Digital communication often removes many of these cues. So while we are socially stimulated, we aren't always emotionally nourished. It's almost like eating fast food. You're consuming something, but your deeper nutritional needs remain unmet.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And we all know what that element is: social media. So people often blame social media for loneliness. Is that really that simple?
Well, not at all. Social media isn't inherently bad. In fact, I think it is a tool to stay connected. However, the issue lies in how our brains interact with it. So, one of the biggest psychological effects is upward social comparison. We naturally compare ourselves with others. It's a very natural process as human beings. But social media gives us access to thousands of very carefully edited lives every day. We compare our ordinary Tuesday to someone's vacation highlight reel, our breakup to someone else's anniversary post, our career confusion to someone's promotion announcement. Over time, we begin believing that everyone else has stronger friendships, better relationships, more exciting lives, and somehow we are the only ones who are struggling. This creates not only loneliness, but also shame around this loneliness.
Yeah, it's like almost like I must be the only person who's feeling this way, isn't
Yeah,
it?
very true. Yeah. Ironically, many of the people posting happy moments may themselves be feeling lonely. So, research also consistently shows that passive social media use, scrolling without meaningful interaction, is associated with lower well being, greater loneliness, and increased depressive symptoms. But active use, having conversations, sharing authentically, maintaining relationships, these can actually be beneficial. So it isn't simply screen time, but it's the quality of engagement.
And algorithms reward visibility, not vulnerability.
Yes, absolutely. The internet rewards performance. Human beings heal through authenticity. And these aren't always the same thing. So this is where, the issues can rise from.
Yeah, so one thing many young adults say is, I have a lot of friends, but I don't have anyone I can really call. Why are friendships changing like this?
Yeah, very truly said. Modern friendships face several unique challenges. So, people are moving cities more frequently, jobs are demanding longer hours, relationships are becoming geographically scattered. Our social circles become much larger, but as a result, emotionally thinner. We maintain dozens of weak ties instead of investing deeply in a few strong ones. So, psychologists often distinguish between social networks and social support. So, social networks are the number of people that you know, but social support is the number of people that you can emotionally rely on. These are very different things. Many people today have expanded networks but shrinking support systems.
And maybe we're also becoming uncomfortable asking for help.
Yeah, I mean, there is a cultural pressure to appear independent. Many young adults fear becoming too much. So instead of saying, I'm struggling, they would say that I'm fine. Everyone is protecting everyone else from their own emotions. And eventually, what happens is that everyone feels alone in their experiences.
Okay, let's talk about the group chats. Most of us in multiple WhatsApp groups all the time, all the day. Why doesn't that satisfy our social needs?
Because belonging isn't measured by notifications, it is measured by emotional presence. So, group chats create activity. Connection, however, requires attention. In group chats, conversations move quickly, messages get missed, people respond with emojis. Now, due to being behind a screen, nobody notices subtle changes in your voice. Nobody can see your facial expressions. Nobody would ask that, you don't sound like yourself today. As a result, there may be very little emotional depth. So, while group chats can surely be a good way to stay in touch, it may not be the most effective way to feel genuine connection. Our nervous system recognizes safety through attuned human interaction and not simply through just receiving messages. That is why someone can spend 6 hours chatting online, and still feel profoundly lonely afterward.
So our brain clearly distinguishes between interaction and connection.
Yeah, exactly. They are related, but then they're not identical.
So this might be most painful experience, feeling lonely while surrounded by people. Why does that happen?
So there can be several reasons. First, if you constantly hide parts of yourself, people only know your mask, or what you choose to show to others, and not you, not the real you. They may love the version that you are performing, but your authentic self would remain unseen. Secondly, many people struggle with emotional loneliness rather than social loneliness. You may have company without emotional intimacy. A third factor would be that past experiences matter. People with histories of rejection, criticism, or inconsistent relationships often become very hypervigilant. Even when others care, they may struggle to truly feel connected. Their brain expects distance, so they unconsciously interpret ambiguity as rejection. This isn't because they are broken, it's because relationships shape how safe connection feels.
So loneliness isn't always about what's happening today, isn't it? Sometimes it's about old emotional wounds affecting present relationships.
Yes, exactly. Loneliness can sometimes be a signal, and not just simply of missing people, but of perhaps missing emotional safety.
Yo, yeah, this all sounds very heavy, but the hopeful question is, can loneliness actually be changed?
Absolutely. I believe humans are incredibly adaptable, but the solution isn't collecting more people. It is creating deeper moments. Some practical ways that we can achieve this includes, like, instead of texting, call someone. Instead of asking what is up, ask more deep, full, meaningful questions like, how have you really been lately? Share something vulnerable before you expect vulnerability from the other person. Encourage vulnerability. Prioritizing meaningful conversations over superficial ones. Create rituals with people who are important to you, such as, weekly coffee, monthly walk, Sunday family dinner. Schedule these from before so that you can maintain genuine connection. Relationships grow through repeated experiences. And perhaps most importantly, become emotionally available yourself. Sometimes we are waiting for deeper friendships while unintentionally keeping everyone at an arm's length. So connection is co-created. So we also need to take the first step.
That's beautiful. Quality over quantity, isn't it?
Always. Research consistently finds that the quality of close relationships predicts well-being far more strongly than the size of one's social network.
Okay, so what do you think are the practical takeaways? Could you leave us with a few simple things listeners can start doing today?
Absolutely. So here are like some five practical ideas that we can, implement. One would be to replace one scrolling session with one real conversation. So every day when you're like picking up, like, okay, I'm going to scroll right now, instead of that, pick up the phone and call somebody up, talk to them. Then reach out first and don't always wait to be contacted, like we discussed, So it has to be co-created. So we can take the first step as well to establish more genuine connections. Then tell at least one trusted person something real this week. So every week you can maybe keep one time where you would share something that has been going on with your mind, or something that is something that feels and relates to the real you and not just the mask. Then spend time together doing something and not just messaging. These kind of shared experiences help to build closeness, like we've discussed before. Also, another point is to remember that loneliness is information and not identity. Feeling lonely does not mean that you are unlikable or destined to stay that way. This is something you can remember while moving forward.
Okay, thank you so much, uh, Nehaji. Anyway, so maybe today's conversation reminded you that you're not the only one who has felt alone in a room full of people. Maybe it helped you understand that loneliness isn't about personal failure. It's often a signal, a reminder that we need relationships where we can be seen, heard, and accepted. The goal isn't to have more notifications, it's to have more moments where you don't have to pretend. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone you'd like to have a real conversation with. Sometimes sending a message like this made me think of you, want to talk, can be the beginning of a deeper connection. Thank you for joining us on the Mind Unfiltered, the conversation about mental health nobody taught us to have. Thank you so much, Nehaji, for joining us and giving us this important, unpacking that you did. And, you know, otherwise, we were all caught one way or the other in these kind of situations. And we were, all the time, sometimes, most of the time, we used to feel very lonely at times. But it's better to, we can come out of it this way and have something real. It's better than and it's better to have a fewer real conversations than more social media kind of. So thank you so much, Nehaji, for this very important talk. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us on a late evening, on Friday evening, especially. So we look forward to having more conversations with you like this soon. So looking forward to one more show, another show with you, maybe in the future soon. So thank you so much, Nehaji, and thank you all, dear viewers, for joining us on this show. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time. Bye.